This video will take you through an analysis of Uphill by Rossetti. Just a bit of context to begin with. This poem was published in 1858 and it is considered to be an allegorical exploration of challenges to maintain religious faith. As with most of Rossetti's poetry, there's always an undertone of the difficulties of resisting temptation and upholding good Christian values. It could also be read as an extended metaphor for the trials of life, maybe as a woman in a pre-feminist era, maybe just as a person in the world because life was difficult and the Victorian times had a very strong divide between the rich and the poor, and maybe she was referencing that. So the assumption is that you will already have read this poem, so then the analysis will make more sense to you. So to begin with, Rossetti questions, does the road wind uphill all the way? The fact that she uses the idea of the road suggests perhaps that this is a predestined path that she has to follow, because a road is something that is built and planned by somebody else and you're expected to follow it. You're not expected to take your own route. It's very prescriptive. And this could be a reference to the way that the Bible teaches people how to live their lives, and you have to follow that very particular road. If it were a path, then it could suggest that there's an element of autonomy in it, so you can make your own path, you can tread down fields and you can make a path through it. But in a road, you can't just decide to choose a different road, you have to stay on the same one. The fact that she starts this with a question, it just relates to the fact that she's always questioning her religion. Either she's doing that because of her own personal feelings, or whether she's doing that to show to her readers that it is okay to question your faith, and it is okay to sometimes doubt what you're doing. However, this is juxtaposed with the response in the second line of this stanza. So the first line is a question, and the second line is a quick response. So this could be a reassuring response. So when the narrator says, does this road wind uphill all the way? And the response is yes to the very end. That response suggests that, yeah, this is normal. It's okay to feel these feelings. It is difficult. There's nothing wrong with you. You will struggle. Or it could be a challenge to the narrator to make sure that they keep going. Yes, it is difficult. Suck it up, get on with it, that kind of idea. It's unclear who the response is from. So it could be argued that the response is the narrator themselves, so perhaps the two sides of their questioning conscience, the fact that they're not sure, so they need that reassurance from themselves, or it could be that they're actually getting this reassurance from God or a higher religious being, so giving them the answers that they need. There's a semantic field of struggle used throughout this poem, so we've already come across road and winding, uphill, and the fact that the journey is long, and this idea of it going from morning to night. It suggests a certain relentlessness to this journey. And actually, the struggle is real, I guess, to coin a very outdated and overused phrase, that actually, yeah, it is difficult. This journey is long, it is ongoing, but it will be worth it in the end. There's a change in tone in the subordinate at the end of this stanza where there is the term my friend used, which suggests a bit of reassurance, and actually it's okay, you'll be fine. And that makes the reader feel perhaps that it's worth it and it won't all be a struggle. There's a halting meter and shorter lines used throughout this poem. So for example, you'll see that there's no particular meter to this. So some lines are very short, some lines are very long, and it suggests that life is a surprise and you don't really know what you're going to get, and you have to be prepared to change. You have to be prepared for things to happen that you weren't aware of before. So it just emphasizes life struggles. Again, we see that there's this use of rhyme and monosyllabic language, so very easy, simple language, which disguises again the complexities of religion. Rossetti's always trying to convince people to follow the righteous path, so it makes sense that she tries to minimize the impacts of how difficult it is to follow religion. She acknowledges it, but she does also try and make out that it's worth it and you can do it. So it's very reassuring. The destination for this stanza is the inn. So the reassurance is that there is an inn at the end of this journey, and instantly when we think of an inn, we probably think of the inn from the Nativity story where Mary and Joseph found comfort and safety. So it's that biblical symbol of security that we find here. The use of the inn could also be a metaphorical representation of heaven, so that final destination. It takes on a religious quest motif, the idea of travelling to something, that kind of pilgrimage that's being undertaken by the narrator. And this could be a reference to Pilgrim's Progress, which was published in 1678, about the idea of the struggle to reach religious fulfillment. And also a link to John's Gospel where he says, "My Father," obviously referring to God, "his house has plenty of room." So the idea that it doesn't matter who you are, where you're coming from, or how many people there are, there will always be room in the kingdom of heaven for you. So moving on, the structure is repeated. So it's a simple structure, as we have seen previously in Rossetti's other poetry. Again, trying to disguise the complexities of religion, perhaps just focusing on the message that she wants to get across, rather than being caught up in difficult metre and rhyme. There's a predictability to it. So at the end of this particular stanza, they talk about the knocking on a door, and then they will not keep you standing at the door. This is taken from Luke, where Jesus says, "Knock on the door and it will be opened for you." So the idea of allowing Jesus into your life, or God into your life, you just have to open the door and allow that to happen. So it's about you as a person wanting to accept God's love into your life. It's that easy as opening a door. Jesus also knocks on the door in Revelations, and again this talks about the acceptance of Jesus, just allowing him into your life. It's that community, I guess, that's being built here. And similarly, when we came across the inn, we've now got beds being offered up. And the bed suggests that there is security, there's a chance to rest after this really difficult, long, winding journey uphill. It could also be a metaphor for heaven, the final resting place. Either way, it's about being comfortable and having that rest. And then she says, or the narrator says, "Will there be beds for me and all who seek?" So the idea of them being for people who seek suggests that there's a condition to these beds being available. You have to actually try and find them. And to find them, you have to accept God's love. So you can't just have this bed, you have to actually go and find it. And it's not going to be easy for you, but you have to almost prove yourself to be worthy.